when the situation then becomes better, I've never seen a press conference of calling for the deceleration or the decrease in fares. That's one example I'm using, because some of these parameters are sticky. When they go up, inflationary pressures many times are sticky. Going up is usually very default setting, because of the cost push, inflation. Coming down, however, is usually very sticky. So I thought probably we may end up letting things flow, but then we pay a dire price to the economy in the future. Secondly, it is written there, as I have written there, is that the amount of money, because I've calculated, that will be required in terms of injections, either through subsidies or through the forfeiture of revenue, I thought it is a fair price to pay, other than the humongous price the economy may pay in the future. Because parameters don't increase at the same margin that fuel increases. They increase by multiples. So we'll end up, therefore, mopping up a lot of disposable income from the people, other than just safeguarding them through that expenditure. So, Chairman, if you allow, I'll go now to specifics. And the letter I wrote, the clerk was very forthright on the things we should handle in this committee, because I think in the wisdom of the parliamentary bureaucracy was that there are also some matters to be handled in the other committee. So the one of the things, I will not read the whole letter, but some of the things that I was required to come with is to facilitate the committee's deliberations. You are required to submit on the following matters. One, the anticipated impact of the proposal on the overall fuel prices and the extent of the expected reduction for consumers. That is very important. And honorable members, the impact to the fuel prices, because I majorly handled super and diesel, because Kenya consumes around 240 million liters of diesel a month, and around 185 million liters of super a month. So the margin or the segment of kerosene was too marginal in terms of the expenditure. So the data I'll be using in the presentation of this committee is majorly for the two. And what will happen after these proposals, if they were to be taken holistically, is that we are going to reduce the fuel prices. Super will come to around 187 shillings, and diesel will be just around 189 shillings. And going to the next, the implication of the proposed reduction on the RMLF for this current year and the next. I think, Chairman, before I answer this, it's good that I also give the holistic proposals that I have, so that as I answer the remaining two, we can have that context. So if you look at the pricing of super, around 74 shillings of super is in terms of taxes and levies. If you go to diesel, it's around 67 shillings. That is taxes and levies. But also there are margins of 17 shillings, profit margins for importers and also for the marketers. So my proposal has been fourfold. The first proposal, and I'll start with the one that we may not deal so much in this committee, was the deduction of 4 shillings from the exporters and the distributors' margins, which are currently 17 shillings. I thought previously, like 5 years ago, there were 12 shillings. I thought desperate times like these ones would call for the players to tighten their belts. So that's why the proposal was the reduction by 4 shillings. The second one was the reduction of VAT from the current 8% to 0, which technically we call it tax exempt. And that, Honorable Chair, will save both super and diesel 15 and 17 shillings respectively. The other proposal was the reduction of RMLF. And that RMLF currently starts at 25 shillings. And the reduction I am proposing is for the 7 shillings that was added in 2024, so that we go to what the figure was of Kenya shillings 18. And the last one was to draw some money from the Fuel Stabilization Fund of around 3.5 billion currently, so that we subsidize further the prices of diesel to come to the figure that I gave. Those are the issues. So to the question on the ramification is that on RMLF, it is a reduction of 7 shillings, just to answer the question specifically. And on the VAT, it is around 15 and 17 shillings respectively. And also cumulatively in the budget, it is just taking the figure of 185 million liters plus 240 million liters of diesel, which comes to 425 million liters. In terms of RMLF, you times by 7, it comes to approximately 2.95 trillion, billion Kenya shillings. And in terms of VAT, is also calculated, and I have it is already in the submissions. The third question was the proposed impact of the proposal on the road maintenance, financing, and infrastructure development in Kenya. Honorable Chair, the proposal would depend on how we treat it as this committee and the finance committee. In my holistic consideration, my consideration is that any cut in the budget, any cut in the revenue side, out of the proposed measures, instead of adjusting the specific budgets of the specific sector, we go to the expenditure side and look at where we can get some retro fat in the budget so that we work around it there. So the impact may not necessarily be on roads. On RMLF, it may be of the 7 shillings. But you know, Chair and members, the budget for roads is majorly in 3 forms. One is what we call domestically funded. It's usually like a third or thereabout. The second one is externally funded. We used to call it development partners budget, which also by that time accounting for like a third or so. And then the third part is what we call recurrent. And recurrent is what we actually call RMLF in cumulative. So the budget then comes in 3 streams. If we squeeze in one stream, it can be the wisdom of this committee to actually expand either of the other 2 streams, because they are predominantly a domain of this committee. So we can choose. If we want to reduce the budget of road maintenance by 7 shillings, we can still recover the same money through the domestically funded budget of the same road sector budget. 4, the impact of the proposed pronouncement of the 10 shillings. This one has 2 ramifications depending on how we understand it and how I understood it. The reduction that was announced of 10 shillings in Mombasa was not clear whether it is the sustaining of the 10 shillings that is in force now, as it was announced in Nairobi after the meeting with stakeholders, or it's an additional 10. So if it's the current 10, therefore it means we'll just be sustaining the interventions that are there currently. And if it's the additional 10, it means we'll be requiring to fetch in 2.4 billion Kenya shillings from the Fuel Stabilization Fund, working with 240 million liters of diesel per month. The fifth one, sorry, which I think is the last one, is any proposed alternative on the revenue-raising measures. Chairman and committee members, this is two-pronged also. The current proposals will be needing approximately a funding of 9.8 billion, all of them. So in 8 months, it will come to approximately 60. But because I also did some analysis in terms of when there are shocks, the behavior of the supply side versus the behavior of the demand side. And it was obvious that when there are supply shocks on the side of supply, on the side of fuel, most of the time, definitely, there is also a shock of demand. Shock of demand meaning the current consumption of 240 million liters of diesel is based on a good day. But we are not in a good day currently in terms of pricing. So if you do the graph of all the other of all the other times you have disruptions, you realize that also demand goes down. So I'm working approximately at the actual money spent at around 48 to 50 billion Kenya shillings. Therefore, the way I'm talking about, the explanation of two-prong is in this way. One, we may decide to cut the revenue side. And therefore, cutting the revenue side, to balance the budget, then we cut the expenditure side. And that is why I think I was, the clerk saw it fit that I appear before the budget committee and not just the finance committee alone. So that's one. The second thing is that the country may decide to input this as part of the deficit. That's another thing. The other thing is that we may decide just to cut the size of our shirt according to the size of the cloth. And maybe that is why I'm here. So all that balancing, what I have done is to look at areas we can actually cut the fat so that the budget balances. So that as we cut the revenue side by the amount of around 48 to 50 billion, then on the other side, we may have commensurate cuts in terms of the expenditure. And the expenditure I'm proposing is the expenditure that does not harm service delivery to Kenyans in any way. And some of those items that I am proposing is the cut in the travel budget across the board in terms of the entire government meaning all the three arms, parliament, judiciary, and the executive. That's one. The second thing is to target areas in the budget where we have seen abnormal increments in this financial year. And those areas, if you permit, I'll be giving them explicitly. Areas we have seen increment of budget, let's say by 20% within one financial year. That can be an area where people can also get in some recoveries. And also, lastly, is the budget of operations and maintenance, which I've been able to pinpoint specific areas where we can go into if that is permitted. Thank you very much. I submit.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, for, first of all, your appearance and also for the submission which you have put before us.